Hello and welcome to House of Cult. My name is Alessandro, and with me, as always, is Ariel, the owner and founder of the Pretty Cult. Today, we are very excited to welcome Nashville-based hard rock singer-songwriter Royale Lynn to the show, who is fresh on the heels of the release of her incredible debut album, Black Magic, which dropped late last month via Epitaph Records. Super cool. We're going to discuss that in depth, among a bunch of other cool topics. Just thank you so much for joining us. I just want to kind of just dive right into Black Magic, if that sounds good to you. It's been about, 2 weeks since the album officially dropped. How are you sort of feeling now that this album is finally officially out in the world? Considering, I'm sure you've heard this a million times, like you have your whole life to write your debut album. Do you feel like this record really is sort of it's really setting the foundation for where you're headed as an artist, and does it feel very relieving to have it out into the world?
It's so funny that you say that because I truly believe that like your debut record is like the most important, like you said, the foundation of everything and
Yeah.
who you kind of are. And I've been like planning my debut album since I was like 10 years old. So like
Yeah, there you go.
I feel like getting to creatively jump into a project that's not only a concept record, but also just like something that's so authentic to me and being able to show people that it's okay to talk about like their mental health and I'm willing to talk about it. So like maybe it gives them kind of the strength to also chat about their own struggles because everybody has their own stuff going on.
Yeah.
So I thought it was really important that we shed light on things that are not talked about and do it in a cool, fun way and get to do it in the hard rock world is like my dream. So I'm so excited. The response to the record has been incredible. So it's so funny. You plan your whole life and like I am truly so grateful to not only do it with the people that I got to do it with, but also just like get to speak my truth on such a real level.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's crazy. You've had like, I don't know, 15 years or so, it sounds like, to work on this record. And, for this next one, you might have like 8 to 10 months maybe to work on it,
Yeah.
So it'll be a little different, I imagine.
Totally. No, totally. No, it's so much fun just getting to like create and I've been in Nashville for like over 10 years now. So just being able to write and truly just create this other world.
Hmm.
Um and do it in such like a fantasy way that I thought it was really cool to be able to like tie that back into a record and also about mental health, so it's cool to talk about, our demons that way.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, it feels like, Black Magic was truly a labor of love, and it was created in collaborations with, close friends and creatives from the Nashville scene. Can you kind of walk us through what that process was, bringing the album to life, and, what that energy was like in some of those sessions?
So I feel like I got to have the best collaborators in Nashville, which is so
Hmm.
special, and like friends of mine too. So it's really cool to just like create a world that no one had heard and no one has like, with a debut record, like the stuff that we were putting out before is so different than the record. So it's kind of like just creating this whole new like me, and I got to like shed my skin and like every day that we sat down to write for this record I was like, how crazy can we go? What's pushing it too far? And then we realized that we could push it as far as we wanted and it didn't matter because there's so many influences in the metal community right now too, that I was like, we can add R&B, we can add pop, we can add the element of storytelling, which is where kind of like more of the countryside comes from because a lot of us also write for that world too. And
Hmm.
and I feel like storytelling and being able to listen to a record from top down and it tell the story is a very like country influenced thing, whereas like the music doesn't sound country.
Right.
But then you have pop and you have me rapping on a few things, and it's really cool to just be like, how crazy can we get? And like all of my collaborators were like, let's just send it and let's see like what you
Hmm.
can do vocally. Let's see what we can write about that is deep and still authentic to you. And it was really, really cool. So I'm super glad I got to like work with everybody on this record because they truly had a piece in creating this other dimension that we wrote in.
That's so cool. And that is so fascinating about like making a record in Nashville. Like, I make music and produce myself, and I actually did a record out in Nashville
Oh,
a couple
cool.
years ago. And it's so true where it's like no idea is sort of off the table in those kind of
Yeah.
sessions. Like everybody's into everything out
But
there.
that's what art is. And I feel like people kind
Yeah.
of mixed up and lose like we make it to we make art. Like that's at the end of the day, like how we like perceive our art and like put our souls into it. And I truly believe that every single time that we wrote for this record, I was like, here's like a dark like corner of my mind and like I would love to write about this. And like no one was ever like, no, that's not something you can sing in the rock world. It was always like, how do we get there? And how do we make it like the weirdest thing that you've ever heard in your life? And I was like, yes. So
So
it's
cool.
cool. It's cool to like work with like-minded people.
Absolutely. Yeah, kind of shifting gears a bit, I'm really curious what sort of drew you to build Black Magic around, a conceptual framework, specifically the myth of Pandora's box. Like, why does that story sort of resonate with you, and how does it sort of reflect the overall themes that are running throughout this album?
I think for me, it was important to say something that mattered.
Mhm.
As like a debut record, like I didn't want to throw just a bunch of songs that we had written. I wanted like it to have a purpose, and I really wanted it to be strongly themed around mental health, and I wanted to be able to like express myself and how much I've grown as like a woman while we were creating all of these songs. And for me, I kept researching and just being like, what could be a cool thing? And I landed on like, what if you wrote a concept record, which like no
Mhm.
one does on their first round,
Yeah.
which is so interesting because it is hard.
Yeah.
Everything had to like fit together like a puzzle, but I feel like for as long as I've been writing, I was just like up for the challenge. And so were a lot of the collaborators. So when I pitched them the idea that the record was Pandora's box, and every song on the record was an evil that escaped, but it all had a mental health theme. And
Hmm.
then
Mhm.
everyone was like, wait, hold on. Like, what themes have we not talked about yet? What can we go and get today? And like, that was really, really cool to be like, oh, well, we had talked about like revenge and greed and sacrifice and like all of these things, and then slowly these songs just started to it was like magic. Like I say that and it sounds so cheesy, but ultimately when we were in the rooms for all of these songs, like I truly thought that like something divine was happening.
Wow.
And it's cool because then we got to talk about evils that escaped Pandora's box that weren't necessarily part of her story, but part of mine.
Mm.
And that's where dragon and witch come in, and
Mhm.
just being able to be like, hey, this is where my mental health is, and like this is what I want to talk about. And um even when it's hard, like here's what I do with this. And so it's been really cool. And then the only thing that was left in her box was hope. And like that's what
Mhm.
the record represents.
Wow.
I love
That's
I-
so
this.
ambitious. Like for a first album, like that's so crazy.
or
Like
maybe I'm crazy. We don't know.
no. It's just like that's wild. I mean, I feel like that's like maybe album three is when you approach something like that,
I can't wait for album 3.
I know it's probably gonna be like a fucking a movie at that point. It's gonna be a
If we're
blockbuster
only
movie.
lucky. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love obviously we're really big on mental health. We bring it up a lot on this podcast as well as with some of our other guests. And I'm also a huge fan of fantasy. Of course, anyone who's
Of
looked at my
course.
brand would know that I love fantasy and magic. So it's like this record. I absolutely loved it. I listened to it the day it came out, and just having kind of all my three of my favorite things in one record was really cool for me because it was like hard rock, talking about mental health, and then this like fantasy magical theme. And you're in all black on the cover, and I'm just like, this is like literally me as a person. Like I love it, and it resonated with me very well. So it's definitely what you went in to accomplish as a listener. Like you can really see that and feel that and understand like the theme of this album. Um, when you were talking, I was kind of wondering, what like what your headspace was like during writing something like Black Magic, and did expressing those emotions through your music kind of impact your own mental health journey, like maybe during that time? And is there a song on this record that feels like maybe especially personal or like cathartic for you?
So I feel like every song has like a special place in my heart, obviously,
Hmm.
but it was incredibly healing just as a whole to be like so honest and that's I really wanted to be as genuine as I could because I truly feel like you should sing about what you know and what I know is mental health and I really wanted to add that aspect and I feel like I got to write some songs that were harder for me to write because like I don't talk about love ever because I
Mm.
feel like I have a very dark heart. And when we went in to actually write Black Magic, which is the title of the whole record, because I felt like the record had so much magic in it, and I was like, it's bigger than just Pandora's box. This had black magic in it. Like,
Hmm.
every day because when we were writing these songs, like I said, like it felt divine. And it felt like there was purpose. And for me, it was healing because it was like we're talking about things that I'm going through, and we're able to put them in such a melodic way. Um, like Black Magic, the song was a really big one for me because I was like, wow, like maybe there's other people in the world who have a dark heart like I do. And
Mm.
maybe like yeah, shameless plug, but like I was reading A Court of Thorns and Roses when I was writing that song.
Okay, I was gonna ask.
Yes, we
I was
all
gonna
want a Dark
ask.
Lord. We all want a Dark Lord. I'm just saying.
Dark
I would love
Shadow
to.
Daddy.
I would. I would love to live, in the night court. So like when we were writing that song, it was cool to be like, some of us are looking for our Dracula
Mm.
and or our Nosferatu, like who awaken after like a million years and are just like, I am like destined to love you. Like, it's so dramatic and I love it. So when we wrote Black Magic, like being able to talk about love and be like, it's kind of forbidden fruit and you're not supposed to like the darkness, but like what if you love the darkness? And it's cool to talk about things like that. And I also think that Witch was very healing for me because it was more of like for the haters and like, people who are like, you've changed. And it's like, but have I changed or have I just come into my own and you don't like it?
Mm.
And for me, it's like,
Tea.
yeah.
Tea.
And at the end of the day, like growing up, like I really think that like society norms and people try and tell you what you're supposed to be. And I just like never felt like I was like able to come into my own. And I was the kid who loved heavy metal and was on the bus with my CD Walkman, like listening to bands that no one else was listening to. They were all, listening to like country or whatever. And that's okay. But I was like, I feel like a black sheep, even in my
Mm.
family. So I was like, we have to sing about these things that I have struggled with because I truly think other people struggle being from a small town and not knowing like how to get out of it and do what you want to do and I'm very fortunate to have gotten out of my small town and I still love it and that's like where I came from, but it's really cool to be able to grow as a person and be accepted in this community because being a
Yeah.
black sheep is like like I wear all black all the time. Like my friends are always like, how about a little splash of color? How
Yeah.
about no? But it's
Yeah.
really cool to be accepted and talk about things that are hard and it relate. And I'm so sorry that these songs like do relate to people because I'm just like, I know how hard it is. But here's
Mm.
something that could maybe get you through the way that music saved me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
love
love that.
this. I
Yeah.
know we're both like, oh, we love
Yeah.
this
It's
at the
just,
same
yeah.
time.
Yeah. It's music to our ears, 100%. Like,
A tiny I have to go back a little bit because Alessandro knows I'm a huge fantasy reader. Are you reading anything else besides ACOTAR right now?
Okay, so I have two sides. I love my fantasy.
Okay.
I restarted even like Game of Thrones and like obviously I look like a Targaryen. That's why we have a song called Dragon.
Yes.
Record. Like I was like, we have to play into this. This is too good. Um, but I actually love horror novels.
Okay.
I am a
Okay.
huge like horror nerd. I love the darkness. What can I say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I am actually reading, it's called The Ghost Writer. Right now it's a horror
Okay.
novel. But I love to read. So I'm always like I've started a few of the other because there's like what? There's Throne of Glass and then there is Fourth Wing. I've started Fourth Wing, um but yeah, ACOTAR just like stuck with me and I think it's because in that like the darkness is actually the light and that's
Mm-hmm.
cool to me is like I love like a Dark Lord. I love stuff like that, and I think it's cool to like shine light that like maybe like don't judge a book by its cover kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
So that's why I love. What are you reading? Tell me.
Well, I was gonna give you a
Yes.
recommendation. Everyone knows my all-time favorite series is Of Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout.
Is it good?
It's so good. People have their opinions. I have gotten like all the girls, some of the girls that work here that read into it. One of our in-house photographers like in the series right now, and she like texts me all the time about it. Castile from A Blood and Ash is my dark shadow daddy, and it's like
Uh,
one of that situation where it's like
yes.
that morally gray character. You like there is that darkness, but it's like the light for Poppy, like the main character. And I just think like her world build, it's just so incredible. I feel like it, Jennifer L. Armentrout's an incredible writer, and I want her to be as big as Sarah J. Maas because I feel like her world building and the way that she creates
Mm-hmm.
these themes and uses so much different types of fantasy in her writing that's not typical. Absolutely recommend for you. I think you would like it. There's even a prequel series with another Dark Shadow Daddy that people are like, wait, but we love Castile, but maybe I love Niktos more. Like there's a
I
whole
love it.
thing. So
I
maybe
love it, Kay. I'm diving in. I'm gonna dive literally before tour, and I'm gonna let you know my thoughts.
I please do. I
I
would love
will.
to have an unofficial book club with you because like
Yes.
and I do like some horror stuff too and I haven't really delved into that world. I have a little bit, so I might be like,
Yes.
"Hey, what other horror should I
I
read?"
have
because I'm not really sure.
so
Okay.
many that like kept me up at night. I couldn't put it down.
Okay.
But it's interesting that you say that like the visualness, like
Mhm.
visualness, is that a word? Oh my God. The visuals of people who write books and like how they describe like world building, that is truly how we created this record. Was like, what are the little details that like are needed to be able to tell this story? And I pulled a lot from reading a lot of like fantasy novels, world building situations.
Hmm.
Because it's so important to be like, if this was a movie, what would it look like? And that's why every music video is very specific. And we have actually been able to capture the exact thing that I'm thinking in my mind when I'm writing the song and thinking about the music video.
Don't you love when that happens? You're just like,
It's
my vision, it's
beautiful.
coming out of my brain and it's right here. Thank God.
Like Greed and Witch, I was like, holy cow, this is like out of this world, but also has very like Christina Aguilera vibes and
Mm,
that nostalgicness. But I think it's really important to like details matter and people kind of
they
forget
do.
that details are so important. That's why I love reading because the details are like everything.
Yeah, I will sit in a heavy world bi building series, and not care because it truly is what matters and it sets the scene. And going even deeper into it in like a heavier note, for my own because I grew up in a small town as well. And in a sadder sadder is a word. Yeah, a more sad way, but also like a deeper way. Your world
Hmm.
is kind of what contributes to your traumas or your mental health.
Yes.
And it's how you, as a person, have to deal with that because some situations are out of our control. We can't help where we live as a kid or et cetera, et cetera. And how do we deal with that? How do we, when we are able, like, heal ourselves enough to get out of, be able to get ourselves out of a situation to heal. So I also feel like that's why books are very therapeutic for me as well in like a mental health space because I do get to turn my mind off, read enjoyment. I'm not thinking about work or whatever. And it's also one of those, we just love a good FMC because it just makes us feel so powerful and the overcoming of the trauma and all that stuff. And I think that that's just like on a deeper note too, why like so many of these books are so important and like inspiring to people like you who are doing another form of art and can
Totally.
pull from that and talk about, your mental health and stuff. It's just, yeah, I love reading and music are my favorite things besides clothing. So like
Same, same though, same. No, I love that. I think it's a good escape. And even like writing a record, you're like, why should people listen from top down? And for me, it's important for people to look at a whole album as like a project, not just singles. And we've only ever done singles. So I was like, the world has to be built and it has to make sense along the way.
mhm.
That's why the back half of the record is heavier than the front half. And that's why the front half has the pop elements. It has black magic where like also kind of sounds evanescency, you know? So
Mhm.
it's cool to take people on this journey and starting out with Greed, you know, just like a heavy hitter right off the bat. And I was like, it's cool because most albums don't single the first song. And I really wanted to make sure that we did that on my record so that we were able to like be like, hey, this is our heavy hitter and now enjoy the rest of the record.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we were going to touch on the horror stuff as well too later on in the interview, but I sort of want to touch on it now,
Let's do it
re
Do
now.
it.
reading
Let's do
about
it.
like
My favorite topic.
absolutely. It kind of, like I read that, with the song like Evil, there
Mhm.
are like subtle horror movie references, like you're sort of like saying certain lines and like making them like reversed and stuff like that, little Easter eggs and whatnot, which is super cool. I'm really curious, like, what are some of your favorite all-time like horror films? And we always like to ask our guests this: if your music could score any horror movie, what would it be and why?
Oh my goodness, if mine could be in one. Ooh, see, the horror world has genres. And when
It
you're in
does.
it deep, I feel like as I am, and you guys are probably the same, each genre is a different thing. So like I have my favorites within each genre. Like paranormal, I think that Insidious is one of the most
Hmm.
one and two. You have to watch them like back to back. They are one of the best collection of I wish it was all one movie almost because it's
Yeah.
so good and it explains everything so well. Um, but I also love like House of a Thousand Corpses and like
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Let's go.
I like and it's I'm a huge Rob Zombie fan. We just got to see him at Boardwalk Rock and I'm like we're on the same bill as Rob Zombie and I have like grown up loving this movie and his music and it's really cool how he was able to tie in together everything. But I have always this is a I will get to your question, but I have always wanted to act in a horror movie.
Hell yeah.
Okay,
That
that's a first for
that
Yeah.
this
is my
podcast. I love it.
really no, it's my dream. My dream. But here's my thing is I really want to be the blonde who doesn't die because
Okay.
we all know the blonde goes first.
She
Yeah,
does.
typically.
So I'd like to be the blonde that makes it out of whatever house or like slasher or whatever it is. And I want Deftones playing behind me. I want Chain playing as I leave the house or wherever I've just like survived. And that is like my goal in life. Like I really want to act. I went to school for acting for a year before I
Wow.
dropped out and moved here. But I really want to explore that side. So My music, I think, could fit in a few films, whether that's slasher or paranormal. I think it could kind of fit into various places. Like, I think it could be cool to have like Witch be in like a zombie cheerleader type thing. Like,
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah,
yeah.
why not?
yeah, but I also think that like maybe like When We Die or something like that, or Pandora's Box is a great actually sync opportunity song. So if anybody's listening out there,
Hmm.
Yeah.
I think that
Manifest.
yes, yeah,
Manifest.
literally like but I think it could be cool in a paranormal situation if it fit well. So yeah, I've got lots of plans.
I love that. That's so cool. Yeah, I think that would be so cool if you were in a horror movie. It's funny, I work with an artist and I can't reveal like the details of this, but he let me know he's actually going to be acting in a horror movie coming up
Oh
So
my,
soon.
cool.
And my first question to him, and it's like a pretty cool popular slasher franchise, and I was like, my first question to him was like, "Do you get killed in it?" And he's like, "No." And I was like, "Dude, what's the point? Come on, man!" Like,
you're also like, are you the one that makes it?
yeah, I
That's
guess he
so
makes it.
exciting.
Yeah. I'm like,
Oh my
that's cool.
God.
Yeah.
Oh, that's my dream. Like since I was a kid, was like, I want to act in horror movies. We used to make these like home movies that were absolutely terrible, but it was always like a paranormal one. It's so embarrassing.
I
But
love
like
that.
that, I've always wanted to do that. And fingers crossed, like hopefully we'll get the opportunity to do something like Sherry Moon, like Rob Zombie's
Oh,
wife.
yeah.
Oh my God. Like
Yeah.
if you know, you know. And I feel like
Yeah.
Hmm.
the horror community is so big. Once you talk to people about it, I'm like, no, seriously, like I love it. That's why there's horror inspired things like within the songs, like Evil. I'm saying like I see dead people
Hmm.
and everything. And we flipped it backwards to sound like honestly quite scary when we first did. I was like, whoa, this is crazy. And we just like had a lot of cool things happen while we were making the record that we were like, is this like, is something happening in here? Because
Mm.
time like everything's just shut off, pitch black.
Wow.
And we were like, are we diving too much in? Like,
Yeah.
we're like scared.
You opened a portal for
You
sure.
did.
To start to like freak ourselves out when we were doing stuff like that to add to the record because it was, like you're in a room with your producer and then all of a sudden everything goes off while you're saying horror lines backwards. Oh
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. Yeah, that would freak me
Divine.
out. Yeah.
Divine.
That's so cool. I love that. Thank you for going on the horror, road with us right there. That was super fun. I kind of want to shift gears a little bit. Um, you know, you kind of mentioned, your origin story of coming from a small Canadian town to Nashville, which is so crazy. You just like made this cross, continent trip essentially, at just 21 years old,
Mhm.
I'm curious, like, were there moments of doubt or like culture shock or uncertainty? I would imagine there probably was, in that situation, how did you go about sort of finding your footing in such like a competitive music scene and sort of building your path forward as a songwriter and artist in such a competitive town like Nashville?
So I have to say that it's not easy. And
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of people go home and it really along, it's almost been 10 years now, but like just like seeing everyone's journey. And I remember when like, COVID hit and I remember
Mhm.
I was playing downtown. So like when I moved to town, like I moved to town on my own. I had no one, no place to stay. I didn't have a job. Like I didn't know what I was gonna do, so I was trying to get my visa. And like once I got my visa, I started playing downtown at the bars. I would play 4-hour gigs 5 days a week just to pay my rent. And like they were paying
Wow.
$40 for 4 hours, like
Yeah. Fuck.
it was bad back then.
That's really
I
bad.
think it, I think
Wow.
it's gone up to like I don't even know what it is now. It's not that much higher, but it's higher than that.
Was
And
this on Broadway?
yeah, just like
Wow.
looking for tips and playing any song that people want to hear. So you're learning, this giant catalog right off the bat. And for me, I wouldn't trade my journey. I think that I got to play for like rooms full of no one and then rooms that were filled, elbow to elbow. So I
Yeah.
really think that it really shaped me as a performer too, because I just have the hours. Like 5 years of doing that, you're like, holy cow. And then COVID hit, everybody was like, what are we gonna do? And like I've
Yeah.
just seen, a lot of people, a lot of amazingly talented people who like it just didn't work. And for me, I was like, there's no plan B. This has to work. So when COVID hit and TikTok came out, I was like,
Mm.
I have to figure this out. And
Yeah.
I have to do it. And I don't know how. And like, I'm watching my friends sign record deals. And I'm like, this social media will not be the reason that I'm not propelling my music. And it's a free button that gets in front of millions of people.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I was like, I wasn't going to take no for an answer. So I started figuring that out. And, it's trial and error and just figuring out what works for you. And, I always tell people who are like feeling, because there will be like, there's highs and lows. There's like, you hit 20 million people have seen your video, and then you got 5K people seeing your video.
Yeah.
And it ebbs and flows. And people are like, well, it's supposed to change my life. And it's just like, well, there's a lot of pieces to it though. Like, are you playing live? Are you writing your songs? Are you putting out songs? Are you doing this? And I think that over the years, just of figuring out who I was and writing for other artists and being able to write country for other people, but then still being able to come back and do rock in our lane, which is like ultimately, I feel like my purpose. And I love the country community, but I was like, Nashville has a big group of rock people.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And once I started like writing with those people, I was like, oh, I found my community and I love
Hmm.
them all dearly. And that's when it kind of clicked for me. But again, like social media changed my life. Like TikTok and Facebook exploded our song 6 Feet Deep. And
Yeah.
we had a Billboard #1. Like I woke up that day. No label, no management, no nothing. Just me. One man band. I used to do my own booking under a separate name so that no one knew it was me.
Wow.
Like
Smart. Hey.
Very smart.
fake it
Yeah.
till you make it. You want to play, you go out there and you
Yeah.
figure it out. So
Yeah.
I was doing that and I woke up one day and someone had sent me a screenshot and I couldn't afford the Billboard subscription. So you can only see the #1 slot.
Oh my God.
And it was me. And
Wow.
I was like, is this a joke? Like I was like, is this photoshopped or like, are you playing, is someone messing with me? And lo and behold, that email goes out to everyone in the rock world. And they're like, who is this girl? And why is she at #1? And I'm like, why am I at #1? And like, what's happening? And it's just like the power of social media. And like looking back at the time, you don't really realize it, but that was the moment that my life changed. Was
Yeah.
seeing that email and everybody's calling. And I was like, I can't even afford this subscription, and we're #1 on that chart, which is crazy. So like Billboard, and they've been amazing since.
Yeah.
They're so awesome, and it's been really cool to just see that journey. But that was the day that I was like, I should probably get a manager.
I could just imagine you like pulling out the credit card and be like, you know what? I'm going to sign up for the subscription at this point. I think it's going to be okay. You
I
know?
know, I didn't even have to. I could just see where I was at.
Yeah.
No, but now it's really cool to like see the charts and see everything moving up and down. But at the time, like we had gotten like whisperings that we were at #5, but like in a 2 week span, we jumped from #5 to 1.
Wow.
Just crazy. And
Crazy.
that's from the fans. And that's just like that's why we do this is for them. And they can truly change our lives. And they did. I owe them my life.
That's so cool. I know Ariel has a question she wants to touch on, but really quick before we go into that, I'm just curious, like, do you go back home like pretty often? Like, does like your small town have like a lot of pride for you, like coming from that small
Oh.
town and like seeing, like, if you have any moments of that sort of?
I mean, not yet. I definitely, we actually haven't been like touring in Canada yet,
Yeah.
but it's hard to make it home a lot. So like, if I go home for Christmas, that's kind of when, I'm kind of there.
Yeah.
But like, I miss my family, every
Yeah.
day. I wish that I could just like roll up for Sunday dinner. Like, that's a part of it that you truly miss. You miss your parents because like,
Yeah.
we're getting older and it's just like our schedules are so crazy and we're touring half the time but around Christmas time, I have a 20-pound cat named Ted. Him and I load him up in the truck and, we'll drive up there for, 2 weeks or whatever time we have off kind of thing. But
Yeah.
it is hard to make it home, but I feel like that's anybody in this industry because,
Yeah.
Yeah.
we were working on a record and we were touring and like Nashville's home for me. So
Yeah.
I like to visit as much as I can. They come to shows. But yeah, it's one day we'll go up there and it would be cool to like go see the high school again and like do stuff like that.
Yeah, I feel like you're gonna get like presented with like a key to the city or something when you go back to your
If I get
town.
a key to the city, I'll die. I'll die. Our town is so small. I love it. I would love that. I'd be honored.
That's so for
That's
the
so
key
cool.
to the city.
Yeah, I think they still do that. I don't know, maybe.
I actually just saw someone get a key to their city and I was like, they still do that?
So cool. That's the dream right there. Yeah.
No, but I love it there and I love the small town aspect and truly like the bands I was listening to growing up, like I felt like they also came from small towns because I was like they're singing about getting out of these places. And so it
Yeah.
like, kind of feeds the fire, like A Day to Remember was like we're getting
Yeah,
out.
I was literally gonna say that. Yeah.
So I definitely think that once you get out, you can't wait to go back.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. Yeah.
Kind of piggybacking off the Billboard thing a bit, Black Magic is out now via Epitaph. That must feel really exciting. I'd love to know how that partnership kind of came together. Was it from the Billboard thing or something else? What was it been like working with them? And do you enjoy kind of, because they are a legendary punk label, enjoy kind of standing out from the rest of their genre or their roster, genres on their roster?
So the first time that I met, I think we were with Brett, Sue, Lisa, everybody was on the call. And at the time I didn't even have a manager. Like that's how
Wow.
quick things kind of happened. And I have like dreamed of Epitaph for like, a very long time. So the fact that we were even having that meeting, I was honored to be there and I was just like this is crazy and life's happening fast. And when I met with them, Brett said something to me that truly I was like, I was already like, I love their label. I love what they stand for. I love that they support artists who are very like they're almost like independent in their own way. Like they just
Yeah.
like they care about their art.
Hmm.
And they literally were like, we see you. We hear what you want to do and how do we help get you there? And I
Yeah.
I just was like they were like, we just want to be here with you. And whatever that means, you want to make a rock record, let's do it. You want to do this? Like, let's do it. And for me, it was like they were gonna support me no matter who I was as an artist. And I loved that so much. And I was like, I actually really want to make a hard rock record. And they were like, hell yeah, how like what do you want to do? And I told them the concept. And like they have just been so supportive since that call. And that call
That's
was like
awesome.
2 years ago. And I just always knew that they were my family. And like for as like this is the best like label that I could have ever dreamed of being in partnership with because they just understood me. And I
Yeah.
I feel like I didn't want just like any record deal. I wanted
Hmm.
a record deal with a group of people who were like-minded and understood like my vision and even to this day, like all the work that we've done in this record and everything, like I truly couldn't do this or wouldn't want to do this without them because they are such a huge piece of this puzzle. And
Yeah.
I've heard horror stories of like people who are unhappy, and I have never ever like they have made me just like they've helped me soar, and I love them so much, and I'm so grateful that they even want to be on my team. So.
Yeah. They're a great team over there for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah,
They're
we
all
know a
fan
couple of them.
every one of
Yeah.
them. Edie, Sue, Brett, like I love when we get to go to LA and like we all sit down and have lunch and just catch up and it's so nice. Like
Yeah.
family aspect.
Yeah, I've known your publicist for a bit, Jasmine. I used to
She's
work at
amazing.
I used to work at Alternative Press, so I worked with her quite a bit, and
Oh,
she's great. And
she
when I
is.
saw that she was your publicist, I was like, "Oh, that's awesome! Like that's so
Mhm.
cool! Like such a
I have
cool
the
label."
best team. Like
Yeah,
the best team in the world, and we all just like have a vision, and I love that so much that I have their support on everything.
yeah, that's
Amazing.
awesome.
We love to hear a successful record label story.
Yeah, absolutely. I
Yeah,
work at a
that's
record label as well,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
so yes, I know. Yes.
Switching gears a bit, we always bring in fashion kind of in this podcast, obviously, because we are a clothing brand. Your fashion sense is awesome and kind of super eccentric. What are some style icons? How do you approach like creating looks for, stage versus everyday, obviously?
So I really wanted to bring back like the Y2K kind of inspo, and Pamela Anderson too. Like
Oh, love.
I know like icons, and I felt like kind of metal. I really wanted this like girly but strong kind of aesthetic. And I really, like I said, I love the Y2K fashion. And um, I really wanted to add elements of like pop stars too, of what they're kind of doing now and what they've done in the past. Like, Christina Aguilera,
Mm,
huge inspiration for me. I also love Pamela for like the way that she does her hair and everything like that. And I just thought it was important to almost bring back this nostalgic feeling with these songs. And then, a lot of the videos, like we have a stylist, her name is Lynn. She's amazing. And she just gets my vision. I'm always like, pleather, pleather or leather, and like just as crazy as we can get. And it's been really cool exploring clothing wise, like where we kind of sit. And we're about to hit the road, and my whole wardrobe is very like, if I was a superhero, this is how I would look. Which is cool.
that's
It
super
brings
cool.
back kind of the book theme. So
Yeah.
it's cool to be, we have like arm guards going up. It's really cool to be able to just explore. And I'm like literally every time we play a show, I'm always like, choose your player.
That's so
It's like
cool.
that viral, yeah, like was it, I think it's Mortal Kombat, right? Sound
Yes.
that's like choose your player and it's all the different
Maybe
things.
I'll do that. I should do that as content.
You
That'd be so
should with
cool.
like your different
Yes.
tour looks. That would be
Yes.
amazing. Easy content right there. People
Oh,
love
Content.
yeah.
I'm
that.
gonna do it.
Yes, absolutely.
Side
But I
note, Mortal
love,
Kombat, best game ever.
yes.
Yes.
But I love fashion, and I would love to explore more, with brands. And I'm a huge fan of Steve Madden. I love the boots. I'm wearing 99% of the time I have like Steve Madden boots on. Um, so like I love fashion, and I love to dive deeper, and I'd love to be able to just like, fashion week, like I'm always keeping up on what everyone's wearing. And I love it. It's such an avenue that like coming from a small town, like you watch on TV, right?
Mhm.
And it's been really cool to explore just outfit wise what we can do.
Yeah,
It's, I'm
absolutely.
excited to see some of the new outfits you have planned for tour.
You just wait. You just wait.
Hell yeah. Yeah, just, two more quick questions. And just really appreciate your time, for this interview. I just, kind of touching on there is one duet on the album, and it's with Danny Warsnop of Asking Alexandria. Super cool on the track Death Wish, which is obviously like a very standout moment on the record. And you've also, have performed on stage. I saw that you actually performed Broken with Seether on stage, which is like fucking mind blowing. That's so cool. And I'm kind of curious, are there more collaborations in the works, and like sort of who's on your dream list for future features?
So Dream List, oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Well, so Dream List, it's funny because I've been like obviously singing with Danny, that was total. I can't even believe that we're on a song together still. Like I wake up every day, I'm like, holy cow, like that's so cool. And getting to work with him and tour with them. Um, Disturbed was on my list, and then we got to do that, which is
Hmm.
crazy. Um, Obviously singing with Seether Broken was like that a highlight of my life. Like that
Yeah.
no one gets to do that, and I was like honored. Um But I would really also love to like work with like Jeremy McKinnon. Like that is a big one
Mm,
on my list. I would love,
yeah.
Lizzie Hale. I'd love to do something with her, and she has been so
Mm.
incredibly kind. Everybody in the community actually has been so, so kind and open arms and just welcoming, which
Mhm.
is so amazing. Cause like you're like you're like fresh meat on the scene, and everybody is like, who are you and what are you doing? But everybody has been so nice to us, which has been so amazing. Um, but definitely Jeremy McKinnon. I would love to do a collab with Miley Cyrus. That's one of my like big ones. But yeah, definitely Jeremy McKinnon. I would love the opportunity even to just write a song for the next record with him.
That would be awesome.
Dude.
Yeah, that would be like the perfect pairing, I feel like, with Jeremy.
Fingers
That's like,
crossed.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Manifesting. Guys, this is our manifesting podcast
It
now.
Yes.
is. We manifest on here a lot with artists, and I am waiting for the day that something we talk about on here ends up to
Happens.
fruition because I will be just so happy
Yeah.
for them.
100%.
And I totally support that. I like Miley Cyrus is one of my favorite like newer pop people that I really like. And I
Yes.
love just like she's definitely done rock and pop and country, like all the genres. And that would be
Would
incredible,
be so,
actually.
so
Your
cool.
voice and her voice. Oh,
Well, fingers crossed. Fingers
yes.
crossed.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, she's icon. Icon.
She
The
is an
pop punk
icon.
shit she did back in the day was really good.
Incredible.
It was very, very, very underrated. Like, I
I
wish
feel
she
like
would bring some
I
of that back.
I feel like I kind of like grew up with her. Like I was the Canadian Hannah Montana when I was 15 and touring. So I feel like she's just a piece of me, whether she like knows that
Yeah.
or not. But like just such an impact. And when she started growing up and becoming her own person, and everybody was like, don't do that. That's not what you're supposed to do. And like she was like, I haven't been able to live, like
Yeah.
I'm becoming a woman, like accept it. And I think that's really cool that she was able to get through those hard times and come out the other side and be like, some days I want to do pop, some days I want to do rock, and like it's art at the end of the day. And that's what I support.
Absolutely. I got to ask one more question. This is like such a silly question, and I sincerely apologize.
Oh,
Just speaking of like pop culture in Canada and whatnot, my girlfriend and I have been rewatching the entire Degrassi series. Just curious if
yes.
you were a fan. I know it's not as popular actually in Canada. It's more popular actually in the States, but just
Well,
curious.
it was popular back in the day. Like
Yeah.
that was like Drake, like I will always know him as Jimmy.
Yeah, he's Jimmy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Jimmy, like
Jimmy. Yeah.
Crazy.
so it's really
Crazy.
funny. Like actually that show was actually really big. It would be on like I don't I don't know if it was CTV or what it was like back in the day.
Yeah.
Like it would be on like Channel 5 because back in the day we only had,
Yeah.
we only had 25 channels. But yeah, no, I remember watching that show growing up and being in high school kind of when they were all in like high school.
Yeah,
So it's
same.
like relatable. But yeah, no, I definitely watched it. That's why
Cool.
Drake is Jimmy and it just that's so funny that you're rewatching it.
It's been
Is it
such a
good? Is
journey.
it good?
Oh
Like
my
what you're
God.
in life?
It's honestly it's so good. Like,
I
I
love
mean,
it.
and I'm like sometimes like my girlfriend will fall asleep and she'll like wake up and I'm like tearing up a little bit while I'm watching it. It's like all my old feelings of like when I was,
Yes.
you
Yes.
know, watching it have just been like flooding back and I'm just like it's still good.
Back,
The
back when we all
song,
had swooped hair and
yeah, you
and
know,
plugs.
and like the music was like low key pretty good because like people
Hmm.
don't
Yeah.
remember, but like Drake like briefly plays in like an emo band with like Craig is the singer, and like Drake's like playing guitar, and like the band like kind of sounds like All American Rejects sort of, and it's
I
like
love
what?
it.
Like this is crazy. Like
I love it. No, that's like nostalgic. And I love
yeah,
like diving back into things that you watched kind of like
yeah,
as a teenager and then being an adult and watching it back and you're like, holy cow, like It's so nostalgic. I love that. I'm glad I should rewatch it.
You absolutely should. It's all on HBO Max or Max, whatever you
I
call it.
love it.
It's
Well, I'll check
a
it
whole
out.
series. Yeah, absolutely.
Now I'm like, maybe I got to do a rewatch because I was
Yeah, just
definitely
do
a
it.
Degrassi fan when I was younger.
It's good for the soul for sure.
Yeah,
We
Yeah.
have a lot to come back and discuss.
we do. We're just gonna need
Yeah.
a podcast 2.0.
I'm gonna start a separate Degrassi podcast, I think,
Yes,
You
eventually.
should do
It's
that.
do
You
yeah.
it.
should do that.
Do it.
Absolutely.
Get
There's
Drake
a,
on it.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah, I'll just call him
imagine.
up for sure. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I got his number.
Well, thank you so much. It's been so fun. We just love to end that, Black Magic is out in the world. What's next for you in 2025? Are there obviously you are about to go on tour, but are there anything, any more music, videos, anything you can share, discuss that you want to shout out?
So I am so excited to hit the road and play the entire record in its entirety every single night. And we're going to be hitting the road a lot for the rest of the year. So
I'm excited. Hopefully some LA or
hopefully,
California.
yes,
Yes.
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 It's on the list, I promise.
Perfect.
Amazing. Well, just thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us. This has been so much fun. Congrats on everything. The record is amazing. And just thank you so much again.
No, thank you guys. It was so good like getting to know y'all and like I can't wait to do this again and thank you for having me.
Of course.
Absolutely. Of course. Well, have a great rest of your day. And yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Thanks guys. Have a good day. We'll see you
You
later.
See ya.
too.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Bye.